Greetings, my name is Timothy Halloran. You may consider me a mailman or a weatherman of sorts. I am one who does the deep and the real astrology. And if that may be something you are interested in, you can hit the subscribe button in order to receive any future updates. Now, the current astrology in the most in-depth and articulate way reflects back to us what is the energy of the current moment and is an indication of where we find ourselves in the passageway through time. We know in today's day and age that space-time is relative, depending on where we find ourselves in space. The laws, the flow of time is different. And it is as if now we are in this intense period where there is a gravity and there is this pressure of space-time as we are now in the events and experiences that can be a turning of the page to the rest of our lives. And we may be experiencing the pressure, the harshness, the injustices, or the brick walls that we may be sensing looming over us are the symptoms of this highly intense, and yes, this is a period of tension and a period of personal and global reconstruction. We are in a major turning of the wheel of global change. And we see this very much indicated in the cycles of Saturn and Pluto. These cycles only begin 2 to 3 times every century. And it is always a period of societal redirection, a bit of a global societal reboot. And so coming up January 12th, 22 degrees of the sign of Capricorn, Saturn and Pluto come together. And yet this is not just any other Saturn-Pluto cycle because they join together on their own planetary nodes, which is no minor detail, because this indicates that the societal reboot and redirection taking place at this time is happening on a fundamentally base level. And similarly, the changes and redirections we can be experiencing inwardly are going through a fundamental transformation, restructuring, and reprioritization. As if a huge reset button is being hit, and there is this tremendous gravity that is drawing us to the past. And you know, this gravity drawing us to the past, it can be a bit dark, a bit scary, a bit disconcerting to see the world in what appears to be a de-evolution, going backwards, as if we're viewing this time machine into the past. And in so doing, observing, feeling, and experiencing this world and this time machine, this reflection to the past, we are waking up by recognizing and cutting the cords with the old patterns, the old agendas, the old goals that are misleading and no longer serving us. We are seeing where humanity's long, extended tire treads have become deeply driven into the unconscious programming of what it means to be a human being, as well as the patterns of human society. That is what is indicated by the Saturn-Pluto cycle beginning on their own south node in the sign of Capricorn. The planetary nodes of Saturn and Pluto reveals collective evolution as it takes place over many thousands of years. This is a period of recognizing the patterns, the long outstanding rhythms of human development. And that Cancer-Capricorn polarity, which we'll be very much discussing today, it's this collective theme. It's this worldly chord being struck. Is the polarity, the dynamic of security and survival. And this is where humanity has dug its tire treads in so deeply. The sign of Capricorn is that gravity where we are drawn to find physical survival. And this drive for physical survival has led humanity into the distortions of force and control. Capricorn is the sign where these distortions, not natural Capricorn, human beings distorted the dynamic of physical survival by using unnatural force and control in order to feel safe, in control, harboring ourselves from nature, disconnecting ourselves from the natural seasons and cycles of the earth are just one minor reflection of this result of having being oriented towards societal building up, sustenance, the building up of culture, the family crest, traditionalism. These are many, many of these old, redundant themes that are resurfacing. And we are witnessing these old patterns repeating. And it is through, and this is such an important highlighted dynamic, it is through our own emotional reactions and feedback to those old patterns' repetition is the thing that is saving humanity, is the dynamic that can bring us back on track. And that's the indication of the moon's north node, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto's north node, in the sign of Cancer, where we see a partial lunar eclipse taking place coming up this January 10th. This tremendous emotional upheaval and this tremendous emotional processing, despite the fact that it's not always fun and games, is what brings us back to our center through the experience of what it's like to be a human being at this time, the experience of reliving the old tire tracks of humanity. And in Capricorn, we're talking about unnatural force. And some of the global dynamics that we are seeing with these past old broken records resurfacing is nationalism, tribalism. We are French, we are American, we are Indian, and we are Hindu, and we are not Muslim, and we are not Palestinian, etc., etc. Racism, misogyny, cultural pride, resurfacing globally. We can see objectively that the astrology always matches with the present moment. It is a science, it is clear as day what's going on in the world. And you know what? Yeah, we thought we were beyond all of this in many respects, and yet the evidence speaks for itself. Humanity, for thousands of years, has used unnatural force to control life, nature, women, the purpose of which has been this fundamental evolutionary need for security. And the collective experience of this drive for security coming from many outstanding thousands of years of patriarchal distortion, unnatural force that was oriented towards the building up, the longevity, and the survival of societies, organizations, religions, infrastructures. That's been the orientation. That's been the pressure to conform to those expectations, those obligations to contribute to the religion, institution, society, culture, etc. And the way that old broken record may sound like, the way that old voice of Saturn sounds like, is, don't you know it's a dog-eat-dog, fight-to-survive world, and you've got to grow up, you've got to toughen up, and you've got to figure out how to earn your money. You've got to prove to the world that you're a successful person. You've got to climb the corporate ladder. You've got to meet the demands of your authorities. They're the ones that are in control. They're the ones that we are attempting to conform, to please, to look up to. And we've been jumping through these hoops, meeting these silly rules, regulations. Do they come from nature? No, they come from man-made constructs. And the question of the day is, have we gotten security? Are we looking at a secure world? Seeing where in our own lives and in our orientation to the world Has that drive for security paid off? And where has that drive or even that insecurity led us? We are seeing where in our own lives and world this dynamic tension between transformation. We've been there, we've done that, we're sick of it. This is primitive, this is barbaric. And that being in a tension and a conflict with the dynamic, the gravity of conform. It is what it is. Voice of Saturn. It's just how the world is. It is a dog-eat-dog world. You've got to toughen up. Grow up, sonny boy. Get your shit together. That's just how it is. So accept it, grow up, accept it, and, toe the line. And we're feeling this towing the line. Like, is this what we're supposed to do? And also, where are we supposed to go from here? Where are the new role models? Where are the new leaders? Where are the new rules? Where are the new spiritual religions and traditions? And I'm going to actually go out on a limb here and speak personally that the new role models, the new spiritual traditions, the cultures, the directions that we need are largely not here. I'm going to go off on a limb and say that every single spiritual authority which we have heard, learned from, they're popular, they've helped us, they've given us gifts, they've given us a glimpse of truth, and it's not everything. And they don't know everything, and there's a lot that's missing, and there's a lot that's unaddressed. And so there's this drive, well, it's like, what are we looking for? It's not there. The new isn't there. And so we'll just grab back onto the old security, the old role model. We'll run back to daddy. And again, there's this dynamic tension here because we're sick of the patriarchy. We're sick of the old, and we are especially sick of societal oppression. This top-down hierarchical caste system that is all pervasive and everywhere. And that's the society. Those are the old tire treads that we're seeing and re-experiencing. And again, there can be this entrenching feeling of limitation or self-defeat, this experience of oppressive societal dynamics and injustice demands us to be asking the question, where is the medicine? And we can talk about the medicine because that is how useful and powerful astrology is. The medicine is very well indicated. And it's very much about going into, in order to recognize what is the old broken tape recorder, in order to change that tape recorder. That is the medicine. It is known as deconditioning. It is breaking the rules of those old behaviors that we have had redundantly reinforced for millennium. By going into and recognizing that voice, we can inform us of where we've been, what we've done, what's no longer acceptable, what we are no longer able to do, and then we change that broken record by becoming a new authority, by becoming our own role model, by reparenting ourself. The process is taking that old voice of Saturn. It's a dog-eat-dog world, so just accept it for what it is and sit where you are. And yeah, everyone suffers and everyone's in pain, but you know what? Just make your own little bubble as comfortable as you can. Leave the biggest statue you can when you die and a good inheritance for your children. And we're changing that voice by forming a new inner network of support, in particular emotional support, to feel safe, to experience what we are feeling in the moment that we feel it, even when we don't feel safe. That's a paradox, but this is how these new networks of support are being formed. Establishing new means of living, new means of the family unit, new means of living in society. And not only do we have the indication of this lunar eclipse in Cancer, and I mean, just look at how packed this space-time is. I'm not even getting too much into the technical, but it's like lunar eclipse on the 10th, Uranus stations direct the 11th, and then Saturn conjoins Pluto on the 12th. What a packed weekend. The astrology that we're talking about in this video is not just this week's astrology, not just this month's astrology. We're talking about some of the overall themes that are going to lead us through this next year into coming years. And the beautiful signature of that Cancer medicine. And we see asteroid Ceres on that exact Saturn-Pluto conjoinment, joining Saturn, joining Pluto in new cycles. And Ceres is the mother. Ceres was the mother nature figure of the Greek-Roman civilization, and there is this medicine of learning to reparent, to be the mother, to be the father to our own inner child, so to form new networks of internal support that allows us to be initiated into newfound levels of authority because we feel safe to step up in the world for what really matters. Reparenting ourselves means being both our own authority, giving ourselves those pats on the back. Good for you. You're doing what nobody else is doing. You're addressing the dynamics that no one else dares go to. You're cleaning your own closet out, and nobody else knows what's inside that closet but you. So you give yourself those pats on the back, and good for you for doing the work that only you can do. And we're giving ourselves the maternal security. You know what? It feels isolating. It feels scary to be on your own. It feels scary to be misunderstood or to be up against the world that is lost in its past and its shadow. And yet you're safe to be where you are. You're safe to feel all the past repeating because it's not actually repeating. And this is actually one of the most useful little mind checks and games that we can particularly bear in mind through this eclipse, because this is not a comfortable lunar eclipse, being opposite to Saturn, Pluto, and Ceres. This can feel depressing. We can be getting sick. We can feel torn, and there's not enough time to take care of all the things we need to take care of, or a feeling of loss, grieving, mourning for that which we wish were here, but it's not here yet. And there's this processing of the space, what's missing and what we get instead. And through this grieving this morning, this is actually how we clean the slate, and this nice little mind check, this little game that we can use to discern, are we in an environment where we can be in this process of reparenting? We can be nurturing ourselves. We are safe to feel as if we're having any emotions at all. Because when we are in actually life-threatening situations, we're actually kicked to the curb, we actually don't have enough food, so on and so forth, we don't have emotional experiences. Adrenaline kicks over, the autopilot kicks over, we go into survival mode. Therefore, even though it may very well feel like the end of the world, it may feel like we are stuck in hell, it may feel like we're sick and we're not getting better, and we're depressed and we're frustrated and we are exhausted. Oh my goodness, exhausting period to be alive. And yet, because you're having those feelings, let there be a little green light or a little red flag that goes off that says you're actually not in danger. Okay, if a saber-toothed tiger were chasing you, you wouldn't be having those emotions. So because you're feeling that scariness, you are already in a safe enough environment to feel, and therefore that is actually the number one priority. Because as we're feeling and as we're going in and protecting our own process of emotions, we are initiating, we are receiving and becoming the role models we've never received or been shown. This is through fundamental establishing of safe space. the safe, loving connection with others on the outside, but number one priority, we don't have to wait for the outside. We don't have to wait for the others. We do not need to wait for permission to form these new support systems within ourselves. To be vulnerable and accepting of our own emotional feedback, because those feelings, regardless of where they are on the full spectrum, crying until we can't stop, bouncing off the walls because we're so exciting, those feelings are what's informing us of our truth. And this is also where the healing and the magic is turning this wheel into laying a foundation for the new, the future, and developing. Developing means work, practice, devotion. We are developing the confidence to initiate our own way, to be the leaders and the authorities that are needed in the world, but it begins by us simply parenting our own inner child. This is the medicine, taking that broken record of Saturn. It's a dog-eat-dog, fight-to-survive world. Grow up, toughen up. We are completely transforming this dynamic to bring in the most missing and needed medicine on the planet in this day and age, the medicine of the mother, the medicine of Cancer, emotional security. Emotional nurturance. This is the energy and force that invites you into the home, says, put your feet up on my couch. I will bring you some warm tea. You relax. You share your feelings. You share your story in your own way and your own pace of being yourself. The way that this voice that we are bringing in, reparenting our inner child, self-initiation, sounds something like mother saying to child, it's okay that you feel sick. It's okay to be sick. It's okay to slow down, to not move, and to process what you are feeling. You are safe to be in the experience of feeling defeated. You are safe to feel panic. You are safe to feel depression. You are safe to mourn. You are safe to grieve and be informed by the emotional feedback you are receiving, even if that emotional feedback is existential depression, existential frustration, or pain. If you are actually in a physically threatening situation, the autopilot, the adrenaline would take over. So even if you're in your existential depression, you are safe to feel. In today's day and age, I cannot understand how some people go around saying, I don't know why people are depressed. I don't know why people are suicidal. Come on. This is the real world that we are living in and that we are a part of. And therefore, your feelings are valid, but they are not the end of the world. They are your tether back to yourself. They are your safe line back to what it is that you need. And though we may have the sense that we don't have what we need in the moment, and that may be uncomfortable, that may be painful, what pain is not punishment or failure. It's the alert system that gets us back on track. Humanity needs this alert system at this time. It's not a punishment. It's not a sign of failure. It's to wake us back up. It is through emotional processing, and this is why even the most painful or existential depression, and giving yourself the safety, and you are safe to even feel that, trust me, we are in this together. Even though we may feel alone, even though we may feel at the bottom of the barrel, in this experience, now, here in time, we are together, and we can survive feeling even the most heartbreaking, the most destructive emotions. In fact, it is this way, through emotional experiencing. This is our soul's way of integrating and embodying experience, and through integrating and embodying experience, that leads us through true completion. The true resetting, the true clearing of the slate, to introduce new modalities of living. First, we clear the slate through emotional experience and processing. We have not been shown or taught how to do this in today's day and age, that old broken record of Saturn. But fortunately, I have a little bit of a medicine myself, a little bit of a tool, I should say. It's now available in my store for $12. It is an audio recorded, what I'm calling Journey to the Inner Child guided meditation. And you simply relax, you feel as comfortable as you can, and you are just receptive and listening. And the audio dialogue will guide you through this inner process of reparenting, and through the amount that we can feel safe, the amount that we can relax. That's where the medicine really happens. Our own deeper unconscious nature can inform us through that mother to child-like dynamic. You are safe, and this is where you're going. This is safe, and I will lead you here. You can do it. You are strong. You are capable. That's where this process of reparenting can lead us clean through to the other end. It's a very powerful symbol with Ceres joining Pluto and Saturn in this new cycle. Ceres is where we get the word cereal from. She's the goddess of the grain. She is, again, this Mother Earth figure who rules the seasons, the cycles of life, death, regeneration, and change. The mythology of Ceres and Pluto is that Pluto abducts Ceres' daughter Persephone, drags her to the underworld, and Ceres grieves. She mourns the loss of her daughter and thereby creates the seasons, and the earth experiences wintertime. And it so much throws off the seasons and cycles of life and nature. The head honcho gods say, you know what, we have to form an arrangement here. Ceres is going to meet with her daughter part of the year in the summer and spring months, and then she will descend back into the underworld during the winter-fall months. The Ceres-Pluto myth was actually at the core of the Greek Eleusinian mysteries, that esoteric wisdom school that initiated souls into the understanding of life. This is about the cycles of death, birth, and regeneration. And this Saturn-Pluto new cycle is about rebirthing society. Uranus stationing direct the day before in Taurus, rebirthing money, agriculture, global economy. What an exciting time. Uranus and Taurus is creating this tremendous stir of the pot, how we've been exchanging energy, how we've been exchanging food, money, resources. And it is an exciting time where we can find this potential. I mean, there are creative solutions here. How to exchange resources, how to exchange money in a way that works better. And yes, temporarily, there's going to be bumpiness. There's going to be scariness. I've been saying, those digits and decimal points in the bank account, they change when we go through a global economic revolution. And you know what? When our global bank account, I should say, changes, there can also be emotional upheaval. And so again, regardless of the trigger, regardless of the dynamic, the emotional clearing, the cleansing, this is the symbol of rain, right? Washing away, grieving, mourning. This is how we wash away the old and clear the slate for the new. And being the emotional support system for ourselves, our own inner child, and others is the most needed and missing medicine in the world, not just now, for thousands of years, but now's the time to wake up and smell the coffee and what we really need. To go through the process of being sick, being exhausted, in order to reset and reprioritize what we fundamentally need. It is not being served to us on a silver platter. No. Society's waking up to societal oppression. We're waking up to the injustices. This lunar eclipse being opposite to Pluto, Ceres, and Saturn can create the complexes and the complications and conflicts between taking care of ourselves versus taking care of others. Taking care of our own inner child versus taking care of our own children. Family needs and demands versus societal needs and demands. What the boss is asking us to do versus what the wife or husband is sad and depressed and missing and would love for us to do again together. Again, these conflicting desires are actually the creative jet fuel that we need to explore, not by having the answers served to us, but by getting into the unanswered questions. How can we build, accomplish, be ambitious, and set the course to the new in a way that is developing strength and confidence, and also rest enough to be able to recenter, to reset, and to really be informed and in tuned by what we deeply need. And that's the homework. That's what we all need to practice more of. Taking more days off of work to be back in tune with what it means to be us before we sign up for the next day of conforming until the day that we retire. And then we start to wake up to, wait a minute, what is the rest of life even about? So Ceres in Capricorn, joined with Saturn and Pluto, can be giving us and initiating us, self-initiating ourselves into this medicine. And the way that Ceres does this is by bridging, by fusing the dynamics of the inner parent, the inner child, the mother, the father, the man, the woman, coming together. And certainly that's where a lot of these old outstanding patterns, old tire treads have been misleading. Misogyny, men are this way, women are this way. These are the roles for men in society. These are the roles for women in society. And those are fundamentally the oppressive, limiting dynamics that must be broken down if we want to take care of ourselves, fundamentally, as human beings. So Ceres can help us with this. Ceres in Capricorn is nurturing through responsibility. Yes, you can survive this. Keep your chin up. You are responsible. You are strong. You can be safe in the world. You can even feel this terrible, and you've still got this. You've got this. It feels like the end of the world. We're being sick to our stomach. We're shitting our loins out in the toilet, and we still got this. Okay? Ceres, Saturn, Pluto. Yeah, it's a little bit that way. Yeah. And Ceres also can give us the practical guidance to form this solid foundation, to live in the world both caring and responsibly. And we're having to break the rules, form the new rules from the inside out in order to do this. Really, really, again, giving ourselves those pats on the back. Nobody else can see what you're doing on the inside, so good for you. You're paying it forward. Man, you are going through some challenging dynamics here. And so you're taking that extra flexibility, that extra care, even if that old voice of Saturn, that old broken record's going on in the background. Oh, bother, I should have been at work today. Boy, my boss is going to be upset. What a letdown I am to my YouTube channel. Not producing more videos? Are you serious? I should be on top of this time. There should be 50 videos for all of these different cycles and transits. And you know what? We have to take care of ourselves. We have to reprioritize. We have to unplug from that broken record all of the computer screens, television monitors, the American dream, Western society, success, strength, what it means to be strong, what it means to be successful. We are redefining new standards of strength. It means strength. We are strong when we are vulnerable about how we are deeply feeling. That takes real maturity. That takes real strength. I see a whole lot of people who are, they're too immature to be real about how they're actually feeling. This is where some of those misled and popular spiritual New Age deceptions that we should always feel good, we should always be happy, we should make this little bubble of comfort as comfortable and as happy as we could possibly be, and we disassociate from our deeper nature. We lose perspective of who we really are, what's really going on in our life, and we become fundamentally delusional, incapable of helping or caring or being responsible for ourselves or others. So no, you are safe to feel bad. You are safe to be negative, because that's what allows for discernment. That's what allows for our compass to lead us in the healthy direction. So no, we do not need to be happy-go-lucky, full of love and light. No, it's an unrealistic, and furthermore, it's not a very compassionate way or a sensitive way to be living and relating with our world or other human beings. So we are safe to get down into the nitty-gritty. No, you are not alone. I am here. There are others that are here. We are in this together. And I need the support as well. We are all finding the groups. We're all asking the questions. And there are medicines and there are potentials waiting for our own permission to go off there and try something different, to open up that space for the new. This is why it's a scary time, because we know that the old no longer works and we need the new. And so we're taking this leap of faith into the void. And it's like, where do we go from here? And this is the indication that this is a new cycle. We're breaking in the new. We're finding it as we go along. It's like breaking in a new pair of shoes or a new pair of pants, finding what really fits. And those new shoes and pants are out there. Do not lose hope or faith, my friends. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, even if your valid emotional experience is that of one that there is no light. Let that be the medicine that you are holding space for, like a mother for your own inner child. You are safe to even feel that. I am also very happy to offer my tools, resources through my Patreon community. I have an additional video on the Saturn Pluto cycle. We go into even more depth. We take this cycle through the 12 houses so you can see how this new cycle is taking place in your own individual life by taking it into your own personal birth chart. We also have a monthly question and answer circle. And this is one of my favorite groups. You can bring in any question about astrology, this video, your birth chart, what's going on in your life. And it gives us a space to learn astrology, to look at the birth chart, to look at these dynamics, but in a deeper, more meaningful way. Come together, support one another in our own journey, in our own getting back in track. And it's a really magical way for us to connect with other like minds and those who are into astrology or simply looking for that sense of community. So I'm very, very happy, very honored to be sharing my own mind, my own thoughts, to be connecting and sharing with other like minds. It is an honor to play the part of the message delivery mailman for you today. And I wish you absolutely all the best. Yes, we are going through a rite of passage, but the potential and the amount of productivity going on right now is unmatched. So be your cheerleader, give yourself those pats on the back because we are paying it forward in a big way. And so absolutely wishing yourself and all of your beloveds all the best as we initiate ourselves into being the constructors of this new earth.